please join me in welcoming back to the stage, Lindsay Craig.
This morning, I'm just welcoming our welcome opening speaker, Brooke Rollins. She used to be at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, but more importantly, she's the great niece of James Burnham. So we're so pleased to have her join us. She's now at the White House in the Office of American Innovation. Brooke.
Hi, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. What Lindsay did not say is that I am, well, she did say Texas Public Policy Foundation, but that I am a Texan. Do we have any Texans in the audience? You know, I know it's incredibly annoying to everyone here how much we love our state, but it's been an extraordinary time. I joined this White House about 11 months ago. Before that, for 15 years, I ran the Texas Public Policy Foundation, Texas's conservative free market think tank. Before that, I ran Rick Perry's policy shop in his first couple years as governor. And before that, I was a litigator at a big law firm in Dallas. So it has been an amazing, extraordinary, just handful of years, almost 2 decades working in the public policy realm. And I'm so happy and thrilled to be here with you guys today. A couple of things I want to note, so I'm going to stand here and then I'll move back out. Lindsay mentioned that my great uncle was James Burnham. How many of you know of my Uncle Jim? I'm assuming a lot of you. Nearly 7 decades ago, he was instrumental in helping the young William F. Buckley get National Review off the ground, for those of you who may not know who he is. He was an unlikely ally for the National Review, an unlikely founder, because he was a university professor who spent his early career, as many of you know, as a left-wing radical, a Trotskyist, and a full believer in communism. But what changed James Burnham, my Uncle Jim, was seeing the Soviet Union in action in the 1940s. The supposed paradise for the working man was invading Finland, Poland, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. And Burnham realized that beneath the progressive left of the era was a new and terrible tyranny. The only way forward for people wanting a better life was freedom. What he understood was the power and consequence of ideas that they have the nature of man and economics, yield outcomes and make the difference between human suffering under tyranny and man flourishing under liberty. This was the reason he helped found National Review all those years ago. This was the reason that he partnered with William F. Buckley, whom all of you know. And this was the reason he spent the rest of his career fighting for freedom and for the power of ideas and for the case for the American experiment. I speak a lot about my Uncle Jim now, especially as I have moved to the White House to run the Office of American Innovation, and I'm an assistant to the president for strategic initiatives working on pretty much everything that domestic policy. But what is most important, as you are all gathered here in Washington, D.C. at the National Review Institute's Conference for Ideas, is that we are all of the same type. We all understand that ideas have consequences because ideas are the precursors to action. In the White House of President Donald J. Trump, we have that same understanding. You will hear from Kevin Hassett in just a little bit, and I know you've heard from other people from the administration, but know this, that our ideas, which were endorsed by the American people on November the 8th, 2016, are that America is a great country and that Americans are a great people and that we are a people conceived in liberty and governance ought to proceed from that premise. Many of us have lived entire lifetimes without a White House absolutely dedicated to that simple truth. But as you all know, these ideas have proven themselves out again and again over the last 2 years. You know that over 5.5 million jobs have been created since the election 2+ years ago. More Americans are working now than ever before. Unemployment reached its lowest rate in 50 years. We have created over 500,000 manufacturing jobs. Blue-collar jobs recently grew at the fastest rate in 3 decades. Wages are rising at the fastest level for the lowest earners ever. The African American, Hispanic American, Asian American are at the lowest unemployment of all time. Women in 80 years, disabled Americans, the lowest of all time. It goes on and on and on. And these are all statistics and numbers that we were told would never happen again, that they were impossible. But we know that less government and lower taxes creates an economy that creates prosperity that lifts all boats. In my final few minutes, before we turn it over to Kevin and Ramesh, I want to say a couple things. I mentioned my background is in Texas. I mentioned that my uncle is Jim Burnham, but I have a little bit more of an interesting background. And today, which is a real treat for me, my mom is here, all the way from Glen Rose, Texas. Where are you, Mom? I know, she's like, please don't do this, Brooke, please. She's standing at the back. Oh, there she is, standing at the back of the room. So, yay! While we talk about my Uncle Jim and we talk about the White House and we talk about the economy, what this country and what our ideas really stand for is what my mom spent her whole life working for, and that was for a better life for her 3 girls. She raised us as a single mother in a tiny little town called Glen Rose, Texas. For those Texans in the audience, you may have heard of it. It's a population of 1,200 people. I had 29 people in my graduating class from my public high school in tiny Glen Rose. And my mom did it all by herself. She opened a little flower shop on a corner down on the square in this tiny little rural town. But she knew if she worked hard enough and she dreamed big enough and she gave her girls, myself and my 2 sisters, the chance that we really could achieve the American dream. I left that tiny town in 1990 to attend Texas A&M University on an agriculture scholarship, thanks to the future farmers of America. And you know, it never occurred to me that I couldn't someday be in the White House. I didn't plan to be in the White House, but it never occurred to me that I didn't live in a country where anything was possible. And honestly, that's what we are fighting for every day in this White House. That no matter where you are from, no matter what your background is, no matter what education you have, no matter what color is your skin, no matter any of that, that we live in a country that anything is possible. And as we know, under the last administration, that didn't necessarily, the economy didn't grow like this, that the dreams didn't happen this way, that there wasn't necessarily someone in the White House fighting for every single American. But now we have that. So 11 months ago, when I got the call to potentially join the White House, I said, no, thank you, I'm gonna stay in Texas. And then I got another call. Will you really consider, oh, no, thank you, I'm gonna stay in Texas. And then it occurred to me, we are in a revolution. We are fighting for the soul of this country. We are fighting for everything that William F. Buckley and my Uncle Jim conceived and thought of and worked for decades in putting forward the idea of what is American exceptionalism, that ideas have consequences, and that those ideas with those consequences ultimately will lead to an America that is better and bigger and stronger, or not. And so I thank you all for being here. I thank you for leaving your families and your work and your jobs. I thank the 60 of you who are at the beginning of your careers, who are part of the National Review Institute's Young Professional Organization that I've gone to speak to several times, for taking your time to be here. Because it really is your shoulders that we are standing upon. It is your paths that we are forging, and it is because of you and the investment that you are making in liberty that is making all of the difference. You know, Ronald Reagan said, and I'm going to read the quote because otherwise I will get it wrong. He said, in talking about the average American, he said this: you can see heroes every day going in and out of factory gates. Others, a handful in number, produce enough food to feed all of us and then the world beyond. You meet heroes across a counter, and they're on both sides of that counter. There are entrepreneurs with faith in themselves and faith in an idea who created new jobs, new wealth, and new opportunity. There are individuals and families whose taxes support the government and whose voluntary gifts support church, charity, culture, art, and education. Their patriotism is quiet, but it is deep. Their values sustain our national life. For the first time since, in many ways, Ronald Reagan and beyond, we have a president and a presidency that is fighting for those ideas every single day, that it is the common American who is the true hero. It is not the government, it is not the elites, it is not the person making the decision, it is the American whose ideas that we now expound upon. God bless you all. Thank you for fighting this fight with us, and God bless America. Thank you. Have a wonderful conference.